Good morning. Here comes some real algebra stuff. And honestly, this is just how I would do it in class. Pretty close. If we were all here together. And you can do this at home for sure. So there's some things you need. I'm using a piece of paper with an equal sign. You could draw a line and put an equal sign on it if your parent doesn't mind you draw on the table. I didn't want to draw on my table. I could have just used the whiteboard, well, the gray board, but I've got some other plans for it. So I just used this piece of paper. And then to represent numbers, I'm using just these little squares of various colors, and those will represent numbers. So one of them is 1. If I have 3 of them, that's worth 3, right? See how easy this is? You could use, for this, you could use like Skittles or Cheerios, or I guess if you had a lot of socks, you could ball up your socks and use that. I don't think that'd be as good as Cheerios or Skittles, which I think would be way better than these little squares, but these are what I have. So I've got a whole bunch of them. So I'm using those to represent numbers, and then I'm using these little cubes to represent a variable. So this could be X or Y or Z or pi. Well, not pi, because pi is worth a certain amount, but it could be a variable, okay? And so I'm gonna keep these ones close to up here, so you can just, if you forget what it means, then it's got a little label. These are variables, these are numbers, okay? So we're just gonna work on what's called balancing an equation. What you have on one side of the equal sign needs to equal what's on the other side, thus the equal sign. And so they need to balance. And we have a very specific process in math we use to balance them. All right, so we're gonna work on that today. And then I will show you how to do this on paper. And later, I think I'm gonna provide you with a link to go play a fun game. All right, so let's do this. One variable. Random number of numbers. So how much is this one worth? Well, here's how we do this. We line it up by the equal sign, and then we line up the other ones, and then we count. I know it seems really elementary, but honestly, it's the first step. And it's a big help to do it this way. So one variable is worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How would we write that? A variable, let's say it's h equals 8. Okay, you with me? Whew, let's do another one like that because, you know, we don't want to be too confusing. Okay. So I'm gonna put these over here, and I'm gonna put this over here, and then I'm gonna put these right there. So again, we line them up. Okay, one variable, P equals 1, 2, 3. You with me? Oh, you're like, Misty, this is easy stuff. Good, that's what we want. Now, I'm gonna do this. Well, let's not worry about what we write. Let's just try to solve this. So before we lined this up, and then we lined up all the numbers that went with the variable. But now we have these two things. We got to get rid of these things. Here's why. This is a variable. He's a hermit. Do you know what a hermit is? Well, a hermit, like a hermit crab, doesn't want to be around anyone. And this particular hermit has a bad case of BO. That's right, some serious body odor, and no one wants to be by him. So he just wants to be alone. It's like he's in quarantine. He wants to be alone. So these two, they want to get away, but in order to cross the river, if you pretend that this white strip of equal sign is a river, they've got to get across the river. How do they get across the river? Oh gosh. Well, they could pole vault, but All I have for pole vaulting purposes are these. So how do they pole vault across? Well, you may have read in 1A something called inverse operations. Inverse means the opposite. So in order to get across the river, they have to do the opposite of what they're doing now. Well, what are they doing now? It's a great question. They are on the same side as the river. And in order to combine what we have over here, we would add, because we have one variable and, which is plus, two things. So if our variable is a, plus 2. And we've got to get this 2 on the other side of the river. Well, what is the opposite of plus 2? What's the opposite of plus? I need another Post-it note. Good thing we're at my desk. Okay. Well, what's the opposite of plus? Subtraction. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. What's the opposite of subtraction? Plus. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. Multiplication. Okay? So these guys are opposites of each other. I'll put that up there. So in order to get these guys to the other side of the river, they have to do the opposite of what they're doing now. And if now they're plussing, they've got to be subtracting. Okay? Now, we're gonna get to this math part here in a minute. But if they're gonna subtract, they've got to line up with, they don't have to be the same color. I did that on accident. Okay? They have to line up across the river and match up. So if I subtract 2 from this side of the river, I have to subtract 2 from this side of the river. You gone. Now what do I have? Variable a is equal to 4. Here's the part we missed while writing. So far you haven't had to do any writing. You're welcome. Over on this side, we had 6. And what did we do to the 6? Well, because we have to keep the river balanced, what you do to one side, you have to do the other. And on this side, what did we do? We took 2 away. So what did we have to do to the other side? That's right. We also took 2 away. So what we ended up with was 4 was equal to A. Okay? Whew. Life just got really complicated, but I promise, once you get this is going to be cake. And then we'll complicate it again. All right, let's do some more. Okay, so what do we have here? One variable plus 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, the variables, and they all like to line up. Because there's so many of them, we could just line them up this way if you like to. Okay, so over here we have variable v plus 4. Okay, well, what do we have on the other side? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8. Okay, something plus 4 equals 8. We know it's 4. Now we're just proving it. Okay, so if I have 1, 2, 3, 4 here, then I need to have 1, 2, 3, 4 here that match, because they have to be balanced. And that means the rest of these must go with the variable. And now that is balanced. And so remember, this guy's a hermit, wants to be alone, so we've got to get rid of these. And if we're going to get rid of them, the opposite of addition is subtraction. That's right. So I'm going to take 4 away from here, take 4 away from here, and we're left with 8 minus 4 is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And v plus 4 minus 4, we're just left with the v. Okay? Cool. Whew. Okay, so to practice this today, I'm going to give you a website where you're going to do a couple of these problems, take a screenshot of what you finished Or if you make this little setup and you have your own little things that you designate as the variable and your own little things you designate as a number, if you just show me and you take a picture, that'll be great. Okay? So either way, you're going to take a screenshot of the digital version or do this for real of just a couple. And then I'm also going to give you a link to a website that's going to have you practicing balancing equations. What? But it's really pretty fun. The music's kind of annoying, but the activity is pretty fun. Okay? And we're going to practice this while we're in person this week too. All right, good luck.